And that's our rendition of Lombardi time. So I'm calling this meeting to order, please. And tonight, we're going down to different chair people of the different committees and see what they got going. So we'll start with Chairwoman Linda Dodd. And when we call on you, especially if you're new on the council, make sure that folks on YouTube know who you are and know what your committees are and all that kind of stuff. So Chairwoman Linda Dodd, you're up first.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I am assigned to Planning and Development this year. Brandon and Melanie are on my committee with me, and so things that move forward this year as far as planning and zoning, we'll be the ones that will be working on it along with the Planning and Zoning Commission Board and Tim Prater. Okay, what I have tonight is we need to change an ordinance that we have as far as signage goes. And the reason we need to do this is because back in February of last year, I don't know how many of y'all have driven around some of the towns like Winder and some other towns that saw all the little pinwheels that were out displayed. Well, that's for child abuse. And so I just thought it was so neat and so sent out a message that that community was supporting child abuse. So, or supporting against child abuse. So I met with a lady about the pinwheels and talked to Danny. He said that was fine. So we set it up to display pinwheels the March 30th. But when we got to talking a little bit more, we found out that in the ordinance, as far as signs go, pinwheels are in there that you can't have pinwheels. So it's section 111-1 to remove from that ordinance the pinwheel, just the word pinwheel. That's all we want to move, because if we don't change it, then we can't do the little pinwheels out front. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Jay?
Yeah, what's a pinwheel?
Okay, she came last year.
I don't know.
The child
Good question.
abuse lady came, and she had the little blue and silver pinwheels that she gave everybody a pinwheel. Do you not remember that?
No.
They spin around.
Oh, yeah.
You can
Wind
blow
blown.
and they spin. They're just little. They're only probably about
Oh,
this
okay.
tall.
Yeah, okay.
About this tall when they're in the ground.
Yeah.
She does have some big ones that we'll talk about too. Also, Melanie and I are talking about that, so we'll talk about that. But the main thing we need to do tonight is get the ordinance changed. And Tim said that if we all are in agreement, we can actually put it on consent. So it's just so that we can put the little pinwheels out front.
We're okay on planning and zoning consent, or we need to take a vote? You okay with it? Okay, just keep in mind, this is also going to make pinwheels available for everybody, but just so we're all aware.
Wait a second. So that means a homeowner could put one up in their yard?
Well, it means that when you have any kind of signage in your yard, you can attach pinwheels to it, you can put them on your fence, you can do them anywhere at this point.
Seems like we're opening up a can of worms.
Well,
I like the cause, don't get me wrong, I like the cause, but I don't know how I feel about this.
I have a question. Is in the definition now, it physically states the word pinwheels?
yes.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the only thing we want taken out of that ordinance is just the word pinwheels.
Okay, we know, everybody knows what it is now.
So if we allow this, then we really can't say no to anybody else if they want to do stuff on the city property, right?
Should be anywhere, not just city property.
But he's saying any other
Yeah, it would be
organization
city
comes in and wants to put them up.
Any nonprofit,
Yeah.
right, any nonprofit can come in here,
Danny.
we can't really say no.
It's not for the city property, it's citywide.
Yes, any property in the city.
So if you want to put a child's pinwheel if you wanted your child to have a pinwheel, right now it's against the ordinance to have a pinwheel, which I did not realize until last week. So it's a child's toy that's about 12 inches, 13 inches tall. That's what we're referring to.
So I think the intent of the ordinance is probably for advertisement. So I'm not quite sure how you turn a pinwheel into advertisement. Is that right?
Well, actually, anything with any kind of message on it is covered by the sign ordinance, whether it be commercial or non-commercial. To your point, I don't know what message you would put on a pinwheel, but I don't know. To answer your question, Jay, I don't think any nonprofit could come in and say, hey, we want to put up a billboard, so then the city is bound to approve that. I think if it's something specific, like a pinwheel, that really is more of a child's toy than anything else is distinguishable from almost anything else you would be requested to change.
And if you remember, in our Fourth of July parades that we used to have, people rode down and walked down the street with pinwheels in their hands. That wasn't putting it in the ground, but they still had pinwheels in their hands. So it really is more of a toy. This is just their way of getting people to acknowledge child abuse. That's kind of their advertisement thing, to get people to recognize child abuse.
Do they have a specific size?
Yes, they're all the same little size. They're just about, I've got a picture of them on my iPad. They're very small.
Well, just because I'm thinking that there are huge.
There are, and that was something that I had said that Melanie and I were going to talk about, but that's not what we're trying to, we would have to vote on that, I guess, if we put those up. I don't know, because they cost money.
Well, but by taking out the definition taking pinwheels out of the definition, they would be able to put up gigantic pinwheels.
Put up what?
The
Yeah.
really large ones?
Yeah, big,
But Danny, would they just be able to put them up, just to put them up?
Yeah, so when we first talked about this, I was under the impression that it was based on a height, but it's not. The definition just says pinwheels. Now, if you want to put in there pinwheels are prohibited except for the ones that are less than, say, 13 inches, we could put that.
Pass that.
The same group does want to or ask for us to put a large pinwheel up as for a form of art to recognize child abuse. And we were thinking about putting it in one of the parks. That is about 15 feet. It's more of an art piece, but if you feel comfortable with putting a restriction over a height, we can certainly put that in the definitions, I would imagine, somewhere.
Okay, but I have a question. So this is the picture of what they want to do?
No, we're not going to have that many.
Okay,
But that's
but,
what the pinwheels look
but
like.
Yes.
if we say that pinwheels are not in the definition, somebody could put 500 of them in their front yard and be completely fine.
A million.
Is that right? Linda? Okay.
Yes, as many as they want.
Thousands.
Yes. I said a million, but yeah, we could go with thousands.
Does Tim's department have any, or do you guys have any legal thoughts about whether or not it?
The one thing I'll say is that, for those of you who have been through sign ordinance amendments, doing a sign ordinance is a tricky thing to do because you're regulating expression. That regulation has to be based on either safety, aesthetics that are readily identifiable and defendable. So if you are going to do this and allow the pinwheels, I would feel more comfortable if you limit it to the smaller size, just because that way you are not going afoul of the goals of the ordinance, which is to prevent the proliferation of all kinds of signs everywhere. So if you limit it to the smaller ones that are the childlike toys, I think it comports more with that goal, if the council agrees.
Well, I was gonna ask if we could, when she showed the picture, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't really want my neighbor putting 500 pinwheels up and leaving them for 6 months. Can we also not only limit the size, but can the length of time, a display of, or the quantity, we can only put so many?
Tim, is that section in signs that are prohibited, or does it regulate them and provide a certain number?
he stayed tonight because he knew he was going to get some questions. See there?
So it is under prohibited signs, and the definition is or definition for a pinwheel is in the sign definitions. We could regulate them like a banner, to where we have limits on size and length of time they could be up. But if we do that, then they would have to be permitted, so.
What about
What are you going, what would the
change?
fee be for permitting a pinwheel?
No, I don't think we want to go down that road.
10
but-
cent? 10 cent per pinwheel.
The definition, if it's in the prohibited part, of the ordinance, couldn't we just define it to a pinwheel that exceeds 13 inches?
We could. It's actually in two places in the ordinance. You have the definitions, and pinwheel falls under festoons, and then under prohibited, under festoons, it was defined in that category as well, so.
But to answer your question, if you do it that way, you're still not going to be able to limit the number unless you create a separate category for the sign, and then, as Tim's saying, they'd all have to be permitted.
I mean, that would be the only way we could regulate how long it's out, is for it to be permitted.
So in other words, if we're not gonna limit anything, you can't even limit the length of time. I could leave them out there till,
Not without it being permitted. That way we know when it was put up and when it has to be taken down.
But we could do a size limitation without permitting, or you have to permit it then too.
No, you wouldn't have to permit it then. You would just be allowed that size.
I think that'd give us some safe harbor.
So limited to, did you say they're 13 inches?
Yeah, about 13, 14 inches.
What do y'all think?
And they're on a,
Can y'all live with that?
And this would be on any city-owned property? They could put these on?
Not just city-owned, any piece of property,
Seems like it's
anywhere.
a slippery slope.
Private property, you can't go on city property and do it. It would have to be private.
but you know, I've seen birthday sign, and this is bringing up a can of worms, but I have seen happy birthday out in people's yards with the pinwheels, about 4 feet tall, just to go in. So,
That's good.
Yeah, I had them for mine.
you
Love
know,
the pinwheels.
and, you know, so you're gonna tell everybody you can't put up your signs because you've got a pinwheel in it. So I don't know. Y'all,
I would have to think, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, if we use common sense and you think a size would be something you could live with and hopefully you could live with, why wouldn't we do that and move on? If that's what you want to do.
well, if we don't agree to change this, then they cannot come and display anything for child abuse. So that,
Did they do it before?
they've never done it here. I saw it in other cities
In other cities, okay.
being displayed, and I went to Danny and said, you know, and I took pictures, and I said, I think this is such a cool thing that, you know, we could display that we support, you know, against child abuse. So that was the reason I had brought it up to begin with.
Is there any way to do it permit-wise where a organization like, I support their idea to do it, I like the raising awareness part. I'm worried about opening the door to the entire city and somebody putting in 500 pinwheels that we couldn't touch because we struck it in the ordinance. Is there any way to do it where we could do some sort of permit for an organization that wanted to do a display for X number of days to raise awareness, that we would allow the pinwheels for that only, that had a finite time?
That is a content regulation because it's actually a viewpoint regulation. In other words, you're saying, if you are a charitable organization, we're going to allow you to place something and do something that we're not allowing anyone else to do. That's where a sign ordinance gets tricky. If you let one person or entity do it, you have to let everybody do it.
Okay, let every entity do it. But could we do it that way on a case-by-case basis rather than,
You could do it for a limit, you could limit the period of time that they
Right.
could be up, for sure, but it wouldn't be a case-by-case basis.
like, they need a permit?
Yes, they'd have to get permits for each and every pinwheel.
So you can limit the size, the quantity, and they have to permit it. And the
I wouldn't do the
timeframe.
quantity, I'd let them just do a permit.
No,
If they
if-
want to have big ones, as long as it's permitted and it's a finite period of time, and if somebody put 600 pinwheels and they didn't have a permit, they could go pick them up, right?
Yes, but to get the permit, then you're going to have to regulate them in some way, so, and normally Tim issues a permit for each sign. So each of the 600 pinwheels,
jeez.
yeah, that's why, that's what he's getting to.
10 cents each.
Yeah, to keep track of that and, you know, from an administrative and enforcement
Oh, it's crazy.
perspective,
No, it's nuts.
you'd have to get him another person just to sit and do pinwheel
Pinwheel permitter.
permits, yeah. Yeah,
if it's
Talk
this
about a
much
can of
concern, we'll just tell her she can't do it.
Yep.
I honestly didn't think it would be this,
I didn't even.
but if y'all are worried about this, then we'll just, I'm not told her, if the council doesn't vote it, then she will not be allowed to display it, so we'll just tell her to, sorry, but it's against the ordinance.
Well, we're not trying to be jerks, we're just, you know,
Right. No, I understand. Just 2 miles down the road and it'll be in the county.
Yes.
Let's just vote on it Thursday.
Yeah, let's vote on
Don't
it.
strike it down, but let's vote on it Thursday.
Yeah.
See if there's- Let's vote on it Thursday. Let's see if there's
Yeah.
anything we
Okay.
can do creatively. I mean, I support it. I just hate to open the door this much.
Isn't it fair to
It's only
say,
gonna be on city land that she wants to do,
That she
correct?
does.
That she
That
wants
she
to do.
does.
Right, but if you let her do it, it can go anywhere in the city limits.
Is there any way we could do just like a corner of city land and make it like a charitable land zone?
No.
Or anything
That's
like that?
contrary to.
No,
What you do for one, you do for all.
that's true.
Especially with signs.
Yes.
Signs are really, really difficult from a technical perspective as far as regulating them. Before we
Not-
move, I'm sorry.
not knowing how the council's going to vote, would the council be better thinking about a size limitation when the motion is made, and then you can vote it yes or no? Or leave it the way it is now?
Go ahead, Robin.
Well, that's what I was kind of wondering, if, when you vote on it on Thursday, do you have an idea? I can go ahead and revise it ahead of time. Or when you vote on Thursday, if you make amendments to it, actually, it'll be Tim, could make those changes on Thursday. It's kind of up to you.
Well, I think I'm hearing the council say they would feel a little better with a size limitation, but if we don't want to do it, we don't want to do it, so that's your call.
I think, is it possible to confirm the size that they use before Thursday?
It is. I mean, I have one pinwheel at the house, so I can bring the pinwheel and show you how big it is. I mean, it's like.
Or just ask her, just because I would hate if you do decide on a size limitation.
And they're
Yeah.
stuck down in the ground, and the time they're in the ground, they're not probably maybe 10 inches tall.
Mm-hmm.
The time they're in the ground.
I just would like to confirm that,
Okay,
so that we don't miss whatever size she needs.
okay.
Did
Yeah,
they
I
want the small ones or the big ones?
The small ones.
Okay,
The one that I sent you the picture of, that's the only one that I'm really concerned about.
okay.
Not necessarily the big ones. And they do have the big ones that we can buy and display, but this is the only one that I'm really.
Well, I'm just saying, if we made them all 36-inch or larger was allowed, it would eliminate the whole issue of worrying about somebody covering their yard in 600 pinwheels.
Well, that's an interesting idea.
Like flip it the other way. For a minute, it'd be prohibitively expensive. Whereas if you had an organization like that that wanted to do the big ones, okay. Here's what I'm worried about. I love pinwheels. I think it's fantastic. But I could just think of that one homeowner whose homeowner's mad at him, and they put 650 pinwheels in their front yard to just hack them off. If we pass this, there's nothing we can do, right?
Yes.
I don't like the way the world works. That's what worries me.
So what were you saying about the bigness, making them bigger then?
Well, you get big ones. You allow big ones that a pinwheel over 24 inches or over 36 inches is allowed.
But don't allow the little ones.
Correct.
Gotcha. But that
Because the big
defeats
ones are a
whole
lot more
purpose of what we wanna
expensive.
do.
Right.
Yeah.
And they'd be cost prohibitive for somebody to use 300 of them.
And it may be cost, at that point, it would probably be cost prohibitive to a building, and then
It might be.
we're
Might
not gonna
be.
do it anyway, and then we've opened it up to, everybody's gonna have pinwheels.
I know. I'm just trying to make it work.
Okay. If y'all are going to vote on this on Thursday, I would ask, because of this discussion, that it not be on consent.
Okay, that's fine. So, but what do we need to do between now and Thursday as far as,
Well, I'd just like confirmation of the size of what they need, so that whatever you all decide, at least we have that information.
okay,
And then when it does come up on Thursday, I'd like the motion, whatever it is, to reflect the goal of the sign ordinance. And I can email you all about that prior
And I-
to.
okay.
I personally don't want to get too exact on a size. I sit there and think, what, in my mind, I'm kind of opposite. I think the small toy size is what we're kind of looking for to allow. You just don't want somebody to come in with some, 6-foot tall pinwheel and stick it up outside of their business and to act as a sign. So, I sit there and I think about a sign, a yard sign or whatever, a real estate sign or a they're what, 36 inches tall. You don't want it that tall. I mean, just make it some easy number and say, look, don't let it be over 18 inches tall or 24 inches tall. Make it simple. I don't think it needs to be
But I believe once you get into that, then you're gonna be requiring a permit for it.
no, I'm thinking, I mean, I mean, I've seen kids' pinwheels, I just pulled them up on Amazon for 20 inches, that's why I'm saying, let's just make it simple, like 18 inches, and that's it. Is there a problem with that tall?
Well, if you do a height limitation, you can just exempt those from the definition. You know what I'm saying?
And we can or cannot do a time limit?
I'm sorry?
We can or cannot do a time limit?
The time limit you cannot do without a permit. The size, we can work with that.
I would say at this discussion, we would permit it now. The quantity, the height, and the time limit, and do it based on a permit. If they want a pinwheel, they had to get a permit for it.
But-
Regulate the time,
But
the
we hear you
size.
gotta have a permit for each pinwheel.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
That's-
hell, if they want 600. At
Can we change the
$25 a piece.
definition that a group of pinwheels is considered one sign?
Well, we could say not to exceed per property, couldn't we? Or we could say the
Yes.
first 10 gets you, first 10 is.
Or you could do like we do the yard sale signs, you're allowed so many square
There you
feet
go.
per property.
So we'll say your permit gets
But then we
you
would
10
be-
pinwheels per acre.
But then we would be out there
Right.
measuring pinwheels and
But it gives
calculating
us-
how
it
many
gives us
square
the-
footage you have
Right.
of pinwheels.
But it also gives us the ability to investigate it too, to regulate it. So,
Yes, you would be out there, wouldn't you?
Yes, we would, Jay.
I don't know, you're probably gonna be in the office
I
right
didn't know I
now.
was bringing up, I didn't know, I had no idea. I mean, none. Danny didn't either. I mean, when we talked about this last year, it was like, so if we'd known that, we might have just said no to me. Sorry.
Did your code enforcement know that the pinwheels aren't allowed?
that's who told me when I went and asked.
Yeah, Tim knows. Okay,
So
you
do
go-
we charge for permits?
For pinwheels?
Yeah. Would we charge for them?
If,
Because I'm asking that for a reason.
Sure
If
you can
somebody
charge.
wanted to put up
They're-
600 pinwheels in their
they're-
yard and we charge them $10 a pinwheel, they're not going to want to put up pinwheels.
well, I mean, if they're gonna permit it, there will be a fee attached to that permit. Now, it would be up to the council to set that fee, whatever it may be.
Do you have different fees for different signs right now?
Yes,
Or do you have
Depending-
classes of
the-
signs?
based on the size.
Okay.
Based on the size.
So smallest size sign, what is the?
$25, but they're banners. They can't be over 24 square feet or 6 foot high. That's per banner, so.
Pretty soon this horse is gonna drop dead right under us. So I guess we need to move some direction.
Okay,
On
well,
Thursday, you're gonna make a motion
I'll make a motion and
up to
see how,
whatever size, and if it goes, it goes. If it don't go, it don't go.
and I guess, do we still need you to send us anything? No, okay. All right, we'll just make a motion Thursday night and see where it goes. Yay or nay? And
That's what we always do, yea or nay.
And I just want, for updates, I just want to report that we have gotten, how many applications have we gotten in now? Do you remember?
Oh, goodness.
I-
A lot.
A lot. I know we had 9. I don't know, we've got more in since then, right?
No, well, maybe 1 or 2.
Okay, maybe 1 or 2. Okay, so applications to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission Board, we've got 9 we know of for sure. There may be a few more in there. The deadline's not till the 28th of February, so we still got some time for it to come in. So I just wanted to give y'all that update, that we've got lots of people interested, so, and that's a good thing. So, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
I think
Linda
I've stirred
Dodd.
up enough.
Maybe next month you can bring in something not so controversial. But with that said, we'll move to Finance and Human Resources, Chairwoman Ann Huntsinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oops. I am Chair of Finance, and I have Jay and Linda on my committees. I have the overwhelming urge to go to Walgreens and buy a pinwheel. I only have one thing, actually I have two things on my agenda. The first thing, we want to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is servers. Kyle has a proposal, it's in your packet for a server. Due to some virtualization technology, which is a new technology that allows us to combine servers and their usage into a single server, the server that he wants, it's a PowerEdge, actually combines three pieces of hardware, three different servers into one, handles the Laserfish software, potentially the door access, and the mail server. Life expectancy on the server is 10 years, but it saves us a lot of money cost-wise with, instead of having to upkeep 3 servers, we upkeep 1. So I would ask for, if anybody has any questions about it or has any questions for Kyle. And if not, I'd like to put it on consent.
Consent agenda. Okay. And next?
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. I guess if everybody agrees, consent agenda, everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? Okay.
The next item I have is some mid-year budget adjustments. We have to move some things around, and I think, Danny, you've got some detail on that?
No, just, we need to clean up the budget, start working on that. We're going into the new budget process, so I'd like to have all my negatives balanced.
Right.
Going into it.
Okay,
Just gives me authority to move from one department to the other.
okay.
Just normal housekeeping.
Yeah, it's just normal housekeeping stuff. So do you need a motion for that, or can I just put that on consent? Everybody okay with that? Okay. Mr. Mayor, that's the end of my report.
Okay.
Thank you.
So those two items will be on consent. Okay, then we'll move on to Public Safety Committee, Chairman Jay Boland.
Thank you, Mayor. Jay Boland, I'm back to do public safety again this year. Bill Duval and Melanie Long are also on the committee with me. So tonight, I have a couple things. One, Thursday night, we will recognize Chief Mike McHugh, who retired. We had a big luncheon for him last week, along with Lieutenant Malcolm. That'll be Thursday night, and should have a big crowd. And then the other thing I have is Chief Johnson from Fire needs $17,000 to buy some uniforms. It's a budgeted line item, and I'd like to see that on the consent agenda.
Everybody okay with that? This side? Okay.
Yes.
Good?
Consent agenda it is. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. And we'll move to Public Utilities, Transportation, Chairman Bill Duval.
Thanks, I'm Bill Duval, Public Safety in Public Utilities and Transportation, and also I serve on Economic Development and on Public Safety. I do not have any actual items, and we'll have something Thursday night. Thank you.
Okay. For those of you that watched YouTube from Saturday, there was a lot of items on it. So, and we appreciate that update. Anything else, Bill? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to Chairwoman Melanie Long, Public Works Facilities.
Thank you, Mayor. I serve with Brandon and Linda. They're on my committee as well. And I don't really have anything to talk about tonight, but Thursday night I will make a few comments about Public Works.
We fine? Okay, anything else? Okay. We'll move to Economic Development, Chairman Brandon Whitfield.
I'm Brandon Whitfield. I'm head of Economic Development, and I don't have any actual items. Danny is going to touch on the retreat under the city manager's report coming up, but I do want to promote Morning Mingle, February 18th. Please come on out as Pregnancy Resource Center hosting it at 8:30 a.m. It's a good place to chat with other local businesses in the area. And that's, how many do we have that have applied for the LDA so far? I believe it's 4. 4 so far for LDA.
The timelines are the same.
Well,
Got
we
to the end
never
of
really
February?
put that to bed. Did we have to vote on that? No. Well, we're going to make it the same as the planning and zoning
Okay.
application deadline.
Okay, and where is the facility located that we're going to have Morning Mingle?
It is 3060 Highway 81, the Pregnancy Resource Center, Women's Health and Wellness of Walton. They got a new bus that they want to show off, I
Yes, they
believe.
do, mobile unit.
Yep,
And that's a small white house just past Summit Church, going toward Walnut Grove. Okay? Thank you very much. Well, with all those reports done, we'll see what Thursday night brings, and then we move to City Manager's report. Danny Roberts?
Thank you, Mayor. I got a bunch of items.
Yes, sir, we got all night.
The first two, Embers and Liquid Pleasure, is contracts. Once Robin gives me the green light, I'll ask for the council to give authority to sign those contracts. These are for our, I believe, our final two bands for this year's concert series. Any questions on those? We've had both this band before. Okay.
Glad to see the Embers back.
Yep.
Good.
And the retreat I know we're going to talk about the grant. If it's something that we didn't get a clear answer, if you want us to apply for that grant, there is a timeline of February the 28th. I believe Councilman Whitfield wants to talk about that.
Do we need to do anything Thursday night? We don't need a motion or anything. We just want it done.
No, we just want to talk about it and see if y'all do want to go forth, and then we'll need to vote on it Thursday.
Well, the
Well,
plan
we-
is, that's extra money.
exactly. And we just never really discussed if we decided to go with one or the other, or neither, or both. And I believe we decided to wait on a lot of this until we talk about town planner and all that. So I just wanted to make sure before, if we're going to decide to do the CDAP or the LCI study before the deadline. Any,
Two
What is
grants-
the deadline?
I think I said close to the end of February.
28th February,
28th?
and you will be committing a match as well.
Is there a fee associated with applying for these?
I don't believe there's a fee, but when you apply, you will be expected to pay that match.
Okay.
Sure. Usually 20%.
20%, I believe. Robbie will have more information on this Thursday, but
We have an LCI from 5 years ago.
we have
I
LCI
believe-
2010, then the update was in 2015.
Mhm.
The CDAP is something new.
Yes. CDAT focused more on just downtown and not the big picture like LCI would. Robbie really uses LCI a lot when it comes to his grant writing, when it comes to other services, so it's helpful for him. But he can still use the old one for now, according to him. He'll talk more about it Thursday. But I do want to keep this up just because the deadline is coming up. So if we decide to do it, we have to do it now before then. Or we can decide not to do either, or one or the other. We can decide that Thursday night. Y'all have any other questions about? Robbie would know a lot more about it, but we just wanted to get that out there since the deadline was approaching.
And will Robbie be here to talk about it Thursday? You don't know?
We got him Saturday. We don't get him Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, he can't.
Well, I'll check with him and see. If not, he'll give us the information for Thursday.
But
Yeah,
we
I
don't
would
need a
like to-
vote to do that. I mean, we just do it. We need a vote? Wow.
Which one is more beneficial for the direction we're trying to go? Do you have any feel for that?
CDAP, in my opinion.
See that? Okay.
Or we could postpone until next cycle comes out
We-
from
in our-
ARC.
In our packets, we all received one, and it has the program and those from the retreat. And that would be your best bet, to go through that and see which one would be best. But according from that meeting, it was CDAP focused more on just the downtown area, while LCA did Loganville as a whole.
Do we
Well,
know
I
what
guess
we
we'll have to have a
meet?
motion Thursday night
I
then.
mean, I'd support a CDAP. I mean, I think that's a good move.
Well, the one thing to keep in mind is just because we ask for it don't mean we get it.
Right,
I would like
And we
to
may not get either one if we ask for both.
right.
So, who knows?
This is a newer program that we've never done before, so Robbie has been working on the fee structure and trying to see, and I want to see that before
Okay.
anything goes further. But I will get with him and Danny and make sure that we get as close as we can so we know before we vote.
Okay.
guess Robbie would have to get an idea, because we're paying 20% of it, right? So we'd have to have an idea of how much the total
sure.
cost would be, so
Exactly.
a little hard to make that decision.
Anything else, Danny?
Oh, yes, I got more items.
Oh, good.
Just Thursday night, it's not on this agenda, but it'll be on Thursday night. You'll be asked to be voting on a vice mayor. It's February is when we normally do that. So I'm sure y'all have already thought about that, but it will be on the agenda for vice mayor. That's picked by the council. And then I will have a presentation also. That's all I have, Mayor.
A presentation? You don't want to talk about anything else?
Nope,
Okay.
a short presentation.
I guess that leaves us something to be excited about for Thursday night. My God. Okay. All right, now we will go from Danny to the city attorney, Robin Webb.
I have no actionable items this month.
Wow. Okay. Very good. Okay, is there anything else from any of the other council members tonight?
I would just like to ask Danny, at the retreat on Saturday, I've gotten a lot of feedback from that. But the main thing that I am getting feedback from is that they could not hear the speakers. They couldn't hear Shane and they couldn't hear the traffic guy. And since Kyle's here, is there any way we could move, like if we have a speaker, to a clip-on mic or anything like that? And they also had a lot of trouble hearing some of us as well. But is there anything that we could look at with some type of...
Is this working? I have clip-on microphones. Clip-on microphones are kind of a nightmare. We have done a ton of testing, and every time y'all say, someone has said tonight that they can't hear on YouTube. We go out in the hall, we pull it up on our phones, we listen to it. I have people at home that give me feedback constantly too, and they can all hear. What I can say is, I listened to the retreat on YouTube because I wasn't here. I listened to it later. If you're using headphones to listen to it, it's one-sided. You can only hear it out of the left side because of the way all the microphones are mono sound. They're not stereo. So if they're using one headphone, they might try the other headphone because, or if they're listening out of TV speakers, they're only going to hear it out of one side, not out of both, because it's not in stereo sound. So they might have to crank the TV up all the way, or they might have to crank up the phone all the way. But when we crank it up all the way, it's perfectly clear and you can totally understand what they're saying. But people have to speak into the microphone. And if you're talking way over here, you can't pick up what it's saying. The same as when y'all are using your microphone, when you're talking to each other and you turn your head, they might not be able to hear you as well because your voice isn't going to the microphone. So that has an effect. We used a special microphone on the podium for y'all, and it seemed to work really, really well from what I could tell. So that way we could try and pick up better, right? So I don't know. We have, I honestly, we have tested it like hours and hours, have we not? Danny, we have tried so hard to get the audio
It's
straight.
just a big room with,
I know, but I
it's
just said I
terrible
would
audio.
mention it, and so
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you.
No problem. Now, if you go back and listen to the first YouTube stream and compare that to the audio from tonight, then we have made like massive strides in where we came from. So I appreciate the feedback greatly, but we've spent a ton of time and money trying to get this all straightened out. So
Kyle, isn't this the best facility we have for sound?
as compared to the Rock Gym,
Rock Gym or
this
Ag
is
Building?
100 times better compared to the Rock Gym. We had the worst echo and the worst setup and the worst system in the Rock Gym. The Ag Building would be questionable too because it's echoey in there. So this room's worked out. Everything we have is set up to work properly in this room. So if we move it, then it's a nightmare to try and get the audio to work right and to get the cameras set up in proper positions to do all this properly. So
Miss Janice said if you want to hear her, come to the council meeting like her husband who's 92 years old to come. Best audio, all right?
That's true.
You need to come, that's what you said.
Well, the only thing is, and this is happening in the planning and zoning, sometimes over here to turn on that button, and you get it. And when you're talking up here, you're really talking to each other, and you turn it immediately. Your sound goes away. Now, most of the time, me and we were young folks out here, everybody, I can talk, we can't hear you.
Is it fair to say we'll continue to work on it?
we absolutely will continue to work
I
on
know.
it.
Okay,
The problem that we run into, let me just say this quick thing. When you boost the sound up, it degrades how well you can hear it, the clarity of what the person's saying. So as we boost it up and make it loud and loud, all of a sudden it gets crackly and you can't understand it, so double-edged sword.
Well, I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate the fact that we've come a long way in the last couple of years, and that people do have the ability to stay at home when they are afraid to get out for COVID or whatever reason. So I do appreciate what you do. I just wanted to mention that to you, though.
And if y'all want, we can get Dustin, he can do sign language, and they can read it. So,
whatever works. Well, it comes to that time in our meeting now that I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the meeting is now adjourned. Just a quick comment. We've gone to public comments after the Thursday night meeting. It will be limited to 3 minutes, and it's got to be on a subject that relates to what we're doing here, and that's the business of Loganville. So that's your new guidelines. It would be preferred if those that want to speak would have something written down. If there's a group of people that want to speak, it'd be preferred that you pick a speaker to speak for that group. And with that said, good night.